at Pupco Studios in Oklahoma City. You're watching The Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson, here with Barry Trammell. It's time for the Inbox, Barry. We take questions from email, and we answer them here on video. Let's get right to it. How about this one to start with from Mike? Mike says, the Spurs seem to be a special organization, kind of unique. Reminds me of the Patriots. They do it right every year. Interesting thought here by Mike.
Well, interesting and really scandalous if you're a Spur. Do it right? I mean, the Patriots cheated. They stuck cameras in stadiums and video practices illegally. Got Bill Belichick fined $500,000 and draft picks taken away.
You can start talking about facts, Barry. What are we talking about here?
No, the Spurs aren't anything like the Patriots. The Patriots are the dark, evil empire. The Spurs, they're not doing anything except lining up and playing basketball. So, no, their success level and long-term commitment to excellence, yes, very similar.
Sure.
But let's just, and the coach, Greg Popovich and Bill Belichick, they both never met a question they didn't want to throw right back in your face. But no, the Spurs have done everything right. The Patriots, not so much.
Yeah, well, that is true. And in terms of some of the scandalous sort of things that the Patriots have done. But I agree with Barry in terms of on court, on field. The Patriots have figured out ways to get guys that maybe haven't been as desirable by other clubs and turn them into maybe stars. I mean, you talk about a Wes Welker type. I mean, there's a guy that a lot of people in the NFL didn't think would work, and he blossoms and becomes great in New England. It's the same sort of thing in San Antonio. Boris Diaw is playing in Charlotte earlier this year, Barry. He's playing for the worst team in the NBA. Now he's starting for the Spurs. They know how to bring pieces together. I think that's definitely a Greg Popovich answer right there as to why they do that. It's just fantastic what they've been able to do 15 years straight in the NBA playoffs. Let's get back to the inbox, and Roy brings us this. Roy says, I disagree that the Thunder phenomena comes anywhere close to Sooner football mania of the past. Interesting there, Barry.
Well, I think that's just great, Roy, that you disagree. But I got two things for you. I can come at you with anecdotal evidence, and I can come at you with hard factual evidence. Let's go to the data first.
You and your facts today, Barry.
The television ratings tell us otherwise.
Absolutely, yeah.
The Thunder, despite playing on cable, despite playing at midnight, a couple of those games against the Lakers, playing into the wee hours, are drawing OU football type numbers on the TV ratings. And if this team would make the NBA Finals, it would be unbelievable. So the TV ratings say that just as many people are interested in the Thunder as in the Sooners. And also, I would say this, anecdotally, I've got all kinds of people that I'm coming into contact with in my family, people at church, people I barely know, telling me stories, not even sports fans, and going gaga over the Thunder.
Yeah.
Never connected with the Sooners this way. And I don't think it's a college and pro thing or even any kind of cultural thing. I think it's a sport thing. Basketball players you can connect with.
See them.
You see them.
Yep.
You see them up close. We know what James Harden looks like. We know more about Nazi Mohammed's characteristics than we do about Travis Lewis's. And Travis Lewis was a 4-year mainstay at the Sooners. I think it's a sport-driven thing, and I think the Thunder, with the young and the excitement that they play, really have captured the spirit of the entire state.
I agree, and I think when you talk about from January 1 to December 31st, there's probably more days that more people in Oklahoma are interested in Sooner football. We see it on our website. We see it with hits. In the middle of July, we'll have an OU football notebook that'll be the most read thing on our website. That happens with regularity. But at this point in time, there's nothing bigger than the Thunder, and it crosses over OU lines, it crosses over OSU lines, it crosses over every line. We're seeing it extend into other states, into Wichita, and you're hearing stories about people driving from distance to see these games. It's just unbelievable. So the phenomena is huge. It's not as long term as what the OU football obviously has. I mean, that's decades in the making, but what they've got going on right now, it's pretty special, pretty big in this state. All right, back to the inbox. This one from Trenton. Trenton says, all right, serious question. Have the Spurs been drug tested for endurance-enhancing drugs? I don't know what endurance-enhancing drugs are, Barry, but the Spurs are too fresh, he says.
Well, here's the deal. This is a product of the 21st century. In the past, when your team got beat, you generally blamed it on the refs. Today, you blame it on the refs and on performance-enhancing drugs. So, my question is, those passes that Tony Parker throws to Ginobili and Ginobili whips to Kawhi Leonard and Leonard whips to Gary Neal, and the way they whip the ball around, did drugs produce those passes? No, these guys just know how to play. I mean, they're just a bunch of old soldiers that know how to play, and they're showing us that basketball isn't just played with your legs, sometimes it's played with your head. Now, Game 3, Thunder ran the Spurs out of the building. Didn't look like the Spurs were on too many drugs in Game 3. But no, that's silly. Nobody's using performance-enhancing drugs on any kind of, I mean, I guess it's possible somebody is. It's just as possible that a Thunder is as a Spurs. So.
Right.
No, the Spurs got up 2-0 because they played much better basketball than Oklahoma City.
Passes move faster than legs do. Let's keep that in mind. And I tell you what, we saw that difference in Game 2, especially when the Spurs were just so fantastic with their ball movement. You know, it didn't matter how fast the Thunder was; they weren't keeping up with the way the Spurs were passing the ball. And Barry, you called them basketball soldiers. I think that's spot on. You got Greg Popovich, a former military guy. He thought about going into the CIA. He went to the Air Force. I mean, this is precision basketball brought to you by a guy that was in the military. And these guys follow it and they play it unlike anybody else in the league. All right, lastly, from the inbox, this one's from Tim. Tim says, it may not have changed the outcome, but don't you think the loss of Eric Manor is showing up in this series?
No, I don't think so. Now, I think the loss of Eric Manor throughout the whole season and even in the first couple of rounds, very well could have hurt the Thunder. I think now, if you want to say that the loss of Manor cost the Thunder home court advantage, maybe they'd ended up with the best record in the West, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think the Thunder is supplemented for the loss of Manor pretty well. Mm-hmm. Derek Fisher is not as good as Eric Manor, in my opinion, as a backup point guard. But he's been fine. He's been serviceable, and he's hit some big shots as well. So I love Eric Manor, but the truth of the matter is, in a series like this, Eric Manor would play less and less because when you play the Spurs, we saw this in Game 3, you got to play the big boys more and more. You got to play Westbrook and Durant and Harden and Tabo and Serge and Kendrick as much minutes as possible.
Yeah.
So I think the answer is no.
Yeah, and I think that is right. I think in this series, Eric Manor would probably not be making any more difference than you see Derek Fisher making, and probably less because he doesn't have this playoff experience. I mean, I don't know. I don't care how long Derek Fisher stays in Oklahoma City. He may be gone after this season is over. That's pretty likely. But I think they're going to look back in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years and say it was great to have him on this roster, to be around these guys in this situation. How did he react? What did he say? What did he impart on these guys? And if Eric Manor's healthy, and I don't wish ill on Eric Manor, I wish he wouldn't have torn that knee, but if they don't have Derek Fisher, you lose some of that. So I think that's right. I think Eric Manor's loss over the season, it's not good. It wasn't good. I think it would have been great to have him developing right along with the rest of these guys. But ultimately, I think in the end, it worked out okay, and that's a pretty minor loss in this series, at least against these Spurs. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoma.